my name's Jackie. I'm the mother of two children. I have a son that's almost one and a daughter that is almost 3.5. I have a degree in English with an emphasis in writing. I also am almost done with my master's degree in education with an emphasis in teaching secondary and post-secondary English. Can't wait to be done with that. And I have been working with students for a very long time. I've been teaching children how to read and write for a very, very, very long time. And I've taken classes in early childhood education, child development, developmental psychology, and behavioral psychology. And that behavioral psychology information is going to be the most important fact that I'm going to teach you in this video. So when it comes to teaching children how to write, you don't need to teach a 3-year-old how to write. The fact that I've taught my child to write at 3 years old is something that I'm proud of, but you don't have to worry about teaching a 3-year-old to write because they are honestly going to learn how to write at their own speed. If they're not ready right now, that's fine. Most children at this age are only making lines and circles and symbols that are starting to resemble letters. And by the time they get to first, second, and third grade, they're going to be working on it in school all the time. So if they learn how to write, then that's fine too. Don't feel like you need to teach your child to write because they're 3. You probably don't. 3-year-olds don't have a lot of hand strength. And so if you want to work with just like drawing with crayons a little bit, mark making with some chalk or some finger paint, that's a great place to start. And that's where I started with my daughter when she was 18 months. Now, last spring, my daughter was 2, and she started to show a natural proclivity or a natural inclination to want to start to write. She was taking chalk on the sidewalk and drawing 2 lines and saying, "Look, Mom, it's 11," and drawing a line and a circle and saying, "Look, Mom, it's 10." So I took it upon myself to sit down with my daughter and start to teach her how to write. And one of the ways that I did that is I got a workbook. You don't have to get a workbook. When I was 3, my father just took a ruler and drew a straight line and another straight line and a dashed line in the middle, just like what you used to see in elementary school. And then he drew some dotted lines to make the letters of my name. And then he photocopied them on a photocopy machine in his home office. And that's how I was learning how to write when I was 3. So you can make them yourself on paper, or you can make them on Canva for free. And a lot of people are doing that now, making curriculum for 3-year-olds on Canva and then selling it online. That's another thing you can get into if you're interested. But I myself just bought this workbook. I bought it on Amazon. I'm no longer affiliated with Amazon, so I'm not going to provide you with the link. And you can probably get it for cheaper on like Scholastic or somewhere else anyways. But this is a little workbook I bought that's for children ages 2 to 3. And I started with her just before she turned 3. And on the first day, we sat down, and the first instruction was really simple. It said, just draw more spaghetti in the bowl for the monster. And she loved that. So, the first tip I can tell you when you're teaching a child of this age how to write is that they're not going to have a lot of hand strength. So, using markers instead of crayons or pencils or pens makes it a lot easier for them to make those marks so that they're not getting frustrated. Washable markers are key because the child is going to draw on themselves. They're going to get markers all over the place, and they're probably going to throw the marker at some point and get it on your furniture. So washable markers are the most important tip I can give you. Another thing is teaching your child how to properly hold a writing utensil. So that was one of the first things we worked on. I didn't come up with this idea myself. I got this idea from another educator, but you take your pointer finger and your thumb, just like you did for the pincher grasp that you were teaching your kid when they were an itty bitty baby, and you have them pinch the writing utensil and then you just flip it so it sits like that. Pinch it, flip it. That's how you get them to properly hold a writing utensil. Boom. Problem solved. Now, the next thing I'm going to teach you is modeling. This is a really big deal in the education community, but it's really kind of intuitive. You probably already know how to do it without calling it modeling. You just do the behavior for the child or the student so that they watch you do it, and then they will copy that behavior. So when you're modeling, drawing, or tracing for, oh, and coloring for a 3-year-old, I highly recommend doing the action very slowly, deliberately, and carefully so that they see you tracing the lines very slowly. If you trace the lines really quickly, they're going to think they need to go quickly. So go exaggeratedly slow, just really nice and slow. So they, and another thing you can do is what we call, what is it? Not cognitive dissonance, metacognition. Metacognition is where you're saying out loud what you're thinking while you're doing the process. You're thinking about thinking. So you tell them, oh, my thought on this is I'm thinking about following the lines nice and slow. Or if you're coloring, I'm thinking about making nice, even shaded colored lines inside the lines of this elephant that I'm coloring gray. Just trying to make it nice and shaded and even. You think out loud about what you're doing and explain to them why you're doing it the way that you're doing it. Another thing that I use with my daughter to teach her how to write that worked really well is what I call hand over hand, or what is called hand over hand, where you just get the pen positioned properly. You have their other hand on the paper holding it, and then you use your hand to guide them very gently, very softly, very smooth, encouraging movements. And that will help them start to feel more confident doing the motions themselves. Eventually, you'll start to feel that little hand moving underneath you, and eventually you won't even be holding it and it'll be moving, and then they won't even ask you for your help anymore. And that's how we got to this point over many months, as we sat down and we did a little bit of modeling, a lot of hand over hand, and now she can just pick up the marker on her own, hold it properly, put it to the paper, and do the thing herself. But that's how we got there. Another thing that got us there, behavioral psychology, a thing I mentioned earlier, positive reinforcement. Anytime they do anything that's kind of close to the activity or the action that you want them to take, tell them that they're doing a great job. Praise them for it. Lay it on thick. Tell them they are amazing and they're doing a wonderful job and that you're so proud of them and that they should be proud of themselves. Praise is a really big thing that got us where we are. Now, the other form of positive reinforcement that I use is bribery, or offering a reward for said behavior. So I would tell my daughter when we sat down, if you do so many of these activities, one of our activities is counting to 100, another one is counting by tens, tracing some lines. We play some drawing games and do some coloring and some activities where you match things and draw lines or circle the matching items. If we do so many of those activities, you will get a prize. You will get a sticker or a treat or some sort of toy. And if you bribe them, that usually is a really good motivator with a 3-year-old. Also, if she says she doesn't want to do it, I say, that's fine. You don't have to do it. That is your choice. That's totally fine if you don't want to do this, but you won't get the sticker. And that's usually enough to get her to do 4 or 5 of these different activities at a time. All right, so if you have any questions, feel free to include them in the comments below. I'm sure I will answer them. And if you don't end up doing any of this with your kid, that's totally cool too. Do what you know is right for you and your family. I wish you and your family all the best of luck. Take care.